Imagine you pull an all-nighter studying, walk into your final exam wearing a bright, colorful shirt, and walk out with a perfect grade. You might look at that paper and think you should wear that lucky shirt to every test from now on. But we know deep down the shirt didn't take the test. This is a common trap called the post hoc fallacy. It happens when we assume that because one event follows another, the first event caused the second. This is what we call a logical fallacy. It's a false argument that disguises itself as sound, convincing reasoning. They sound right at first, but they start to fall apart the moment you look at the evidence. These traps are everywhere, in dining room conversations, in high-stakes office meetings, and all over the news. To avoid being misled, we have to look past the surface of what's being said and examine how the argument is actually built. It's about learning to spot the gaps before we buy into the conclusion. Let's start by looking at our daily lives, the conversations we have with friends and family. Have you ever had a friend ask for a loan by saying, "After all we've been through, how can you let money come between us?" Instead of giving you a practical reason why they can pay you back, they are using your feelings to bypass the facts. This is the appeal to emotion. Then there is the false dilemma, like the relationship ultimatum. Either you love me or you don't. It tries to force you into choosing between two extremes, ignoring the entire spectrum of possibilities that usually exists in between. Or consider someone calling a restaurant the best simply because everyone says it is. In this case, the reason being used to prove the point is actually just the point itself. The logic just circles back to the start. If the evidence is just the conclusion repeated in different words, the argument isn't going anywhere. This is circular reasoning. In our personal lives, being close to someone can often make it harder to see when these logical links are missing. These traps also follow us into the professional world. Imagine a meeting where a coworker, Akash, proposes a new software project. Someone might dismiss his idea by saying, "Akash's proposal is flawed because he doesn't have enough experience." Notice that they aren't talking about the software at all. They are attacking the person instead of the idea. That's the ad hominem fallacy. Another person might claim Akash only wants the new software because he doesn't understand technology. This is a straw man. By creating this distorted version of what Akash actually thinks, his opponent makes the argument look weak and easy to knock down, even though they haven't addressed his actual points. You might also hear, "The manager said this is how we're doing it, so that settles it." Relying on a title to end a debate without looking at the facts is an appeal to authority. It assumes someone is right just because of who they are. These office fallacies are often just distractions. They force us to make decisions based on job titles or personal jabs, rather than the actual quality of the work. On a national scale, these traps are used to persuade large audiences very quickly, often by simplifying complex issues. You'll often hear broad claims that all media is biased, or all politicians are only in it for themselves. Taking a few examples and applying them to everyone is a hasty generalization. It's reaching a massive conclusion without enough proof. We see the ad hominem fallacy in politics too. For instance, when a leader like Akhilesh Yadav makes a statement, critics might dismiss his words as nothing more than a play for specific social or community groups, rather than actually debating the content of what he said. We also see the false dilemma used to force people into specific camps. An argument might suggest that you either agree with a specific military action, like the Balakot airstrikes, or you don't care about national security. It leaves no room for a middle ground. And when facts are thin, speakers often scale up the appeal to emotion. They might ask how someone can complain about a daily inconvenience when our soldiers are fighting in the freezing cold of Siachen. It uses our respect for the military to shut down an unrelated discussion. In the media, these arguments often rely on our fears or biases to get us to agree with a conclusion before we've had time to think it through. So how do we protect ourselves? It helps to have a simple set of questions to filter out these bad arguments. First, am I evaluating the idea or just the person saying it? This helps you stay focused on the facts instead of the personalities. Second, are there really only two options here? This reminds you to look for the middle ground that's often being hidden. Third, Is this actual evidence, or is it just a play on my feelings? This helps you separate a speaker's passion from the strength of their logic. And fourth, is there enough proof to support this broad conclusion? This keeps you from jumping to a result before the facts are in. Using these questions can help you stay in control of your own decisions. Which of these logic traps do you notice the most in your own life? Let us know in the comments below.